Hello, welcome to the programme. The headlines from across Northern Ireland this evening. This man who was murdered in Coleraine was hit with an iron bar in an attack over a drugs debt, a court was told today. Jury selection begins ahead of the inquest into the death of Noah Donohoe. The Belfast schoolboy's body was found in a storm drain after he vanished in 2020. Police investigate sexually explicit AI-generated images of female pupils that were shared around a school in Armagh.
They have a number of families who are dealing, with a traumatising incident. And it's traumatising for, the girls involved who've been victims of this. It's traumatising for their parents.
The incoming Ulster Unionist leader says he's willing to meet the DUP, but he says he won't play second fiddle to anyone.
As Ulster Rugby secure a home tie for the last 16 of the European Challenge Cup, how many players will get an Ireland call-up for the Six Nations this week?
And after a wet and miserable day, you may need to keep the umbrella handy for the rest of this week. I'll have the details shortly.
Welcome to Monday's BBC Newsline. I'm Declan Harvey. It was said today in court by police that a man whose body was found in Coleraine last week had been hit with an iron bar in an attack over a drugs debt. A 33-year-old has been charged with murdering Wayne Reid. 5 others are still being questioned. Claire Graham was in court at Coleraine Magistrates.
Police believe multiple people were involved in the death of Wayne Reid. The father of one died from blunt force trauma. In court today, it was heard he took refuge in this house after an attack related to an ongoing dispute over drug debt and a vehicle. He died from his injuries 2 days later. A detective sergeant told the court that Mr. Reid died as a result of internal bleeding caused by blunt force trauma, which led to a hemorrhaged spleen. Friends of Mr. Reid appeared visibly upset as they listened to the details of the case. In court today, a 33-year-old man, Darrell Joseph Shaw, with an address listed as no fixed abode, confirmed he understood the murder charge he was facing. The court also heard today that this murder followed a dispute about drug debt and a vehicle. Details of Mr. Shaw's pre-prepared statement in police custody were also read out in court, in which he had said, "I did not murder Wayne Reid." The court also heard today a weapon had been recovered as part of the police investigation, an iron bar. Bail was refused. District Judge Austin Kennedy said Mr. Shaw was clearly a danger to the public if released on bail. The investigation continues. Claire Graham, BBC Newsline.
The process of swearing in a jury at the Noah Donohoe inquest began today. The first evidence is expected to be heard a little later this week. Kevin Sharkey explains.
Noah's mother, Fiona, seen here in the centre on her way to her son's inquest, waiting for answers. It's more than 5.5 years since the schoolboy disappeared and died. His body found downstream from this storm drain almost a week after he went missing. The discovery followed a high-profile search involving the police, search and rescue teams and hundreds of volunteers, trying to find the schoolboy who had cycled from his home in South Belfast through the city centre to the north of the city. Today, a landmark moment in his mother's ongoing quest for answers. A jury selection process at the coroner's court ahead of an inquest. A jury was granted in this case back in 2022 following a request from Noah Donohoe's family. And what that means is that when the inquest opens here, potentially later this week, it will be heard before the coroner, Mr. Justice Rooney, and a jury of 11 people. The jury selection process will resume tomorrow morning. Once that has been completed, the case will move on to the substantive inquest hearing. Kevin Sharkey, BBC Newsline at the Coroner's Court in Belfast.
Well, it's just after 25 to 7. Still to come on the programme this evening, we'll hear from a County Down man who ended up homeless but is now rebuilding his life with support from specialist nurses. The principal of a school in County Armagh says those behind the creation and sharing of AI-generated explicit images of pupils have now been identified. Police are investigating as the school moves to reassure parents and students. It's a controversy made of very modern technology. Julie McCulloch has the latest.
The Royal School Armagh first became aware of the manipulated sexualised images being circulated more than a week ago. They were created by pupils in the school of girls who also attend the school. Today, the principal wrote to parents to clarify some of the details. Graham Montgomery said they had identified all of those of whom images had been manipulated and those allegedly responsible. He went on to say, "The actions reported to us are shocking and without excuse." He explained that they believe the number of girls affected is in single figures and that while that does not lessen the impact of what has happened, the school hopes it will contain any sense of panic among the wider school community. Former police officer and child protection expert Jim Gamble has spoken to the principal of the school.
I don't want to go into the detail of what he's told me, and because what I know is they have a number of families who are dealing, with a traumatising incident, and it's traumatising for, the girls involved who've been victims of this. It's traumatising for their parents and families, and it's also traumatising for the families of the young people who have in fact used an app to create these images in the way that they have.
This is an extremely violating act, and it's been done by their peers. These are boys who should have been their friends and in whom they should have trusted. And what we know as victims of this, it shatters their trust in other people.
Professor Claire McGlynn says what happened at the Royal School Armagh will not be an isolated incident. It's something happening at schools around the world. Jim Gamble has this advice for parents who are worried their children might be involved.
If they've received an image, or even if they've sent an image, come forward. You come forward before the police knock your door. Come forward to the school where you will get, a pastoral first approach. And in my experience, the police and the PSNI in particular adopt a really balanced and proportionate child-centred approach.
The PSNI has confirmed an investigation is underway at the school and that local officers are engaging with school authorities and the parents and guardians of the pupils affected. Julie McCulloch, BBC Newsline.
A 17-year-old is in intensive care this evening with potentially life-threatening injuries after it's understood he was punched in the street in Derry early yesterday morning. It happened near the Diamond in the city centre. Today, another 17-year-old appeared in court. Our North West reporter Kieran Tourish was listening.
The 17-year-old youth was charged with unlawfully and maliciously inflicting grievous bodily harm on another youth who's the same age in the early hours of yesterday morning in Butcher Street. He's also accused of assaulting another man and breaching his bail conditions by being out after his curfew time. He's on bail for riotous behaviour. The court was told the incident was captured on CCTV. The injured man suffered a bleed on the brain and is in a critical condition. A defence solicitor said the first thing his client had asked him was about the condition of the injured party. He said this had been a fight between two young men and serious head injuries had resulted from a one-punch assault. He said the defendant had made full admissions and would maintain that he did not intend to cause any serious harm. A bail application was opposed by police. District Judge Una Mullen said the punch must have been delivered with some force. She refused bail and remanded the youth in custody to appear again on January the 20th in the youth court. Kieran Turish, BBC Newsline, London Derry Magistrates Court.
The mother of a woman who claims she was sexually assaulted by her teacher in the 1970s has said the school's headmistress at the time was very keen nothing should be done when concerns were raised. William Lloyd Lavery is on trial on 11 charges. Michael Fitzpatrick reports from Belfast Crown Court.
William Lloyd Lavery is on trial charged with indecently assaulting 6 teenage girls at Richmond Lodge School in South Belfast. The 77-year-old is accused of 9 counts of indecent assault and 2 further counts of gross indecency between 1974 and 1979. charges he denies. Today, a recording of an evidence-gathering police interview with the mother of one of the 6 complainants was played to the jury. During the video interview, the woman, who is in her 90s, recalled picking her daughter up from school and said that she was crying and in a terrible state when she got into the car. The woman said her daughter then described how she'd been lifted up and sexually assaulted by the defendant in a stationery cupboard after he told her he needed help looking for a history book. The woman said when she told her husband about this, he was absolutely raging, and that they went to the school the next day to speak to the headmistress. The complainant's mother was then asked about how the meeting at the school went during cross-examination. She said she felt the headmistress was impassive and that she didn't react the way she would have reacted as a headmistress. She described how her husband wanted it dealt with, but she said the headmistress told them William Lloyd Lavery was ambitious and would be moving on soon. The woman added the headmistress was very keen nothing should be done. The woman also said that while she and her husband wanted their daughter to move schools, she didn't want to go because she'd made friends and was doing very well at the school. The trial continues. Michael Fitzpatrick, BBC Newsline at Belfast Crown Court.
Next, the incoming Ulster Unionist leader has said he will meet his opposite number in the DUP for talks, but he wants his party to lead unionism and he doesn't intend to play second fiddle to anyone. John Burrows has been invited by the DUP's Gavin Robinson to discuss closer cooperation. So is this the start of a more united front or the opening move in a familiar power struggle? Jane McCormack, our political correspondent, has more.
Was this the last big display of unionist unity? Opposing the Brexit protocol saw these unionist leaders join forces nearly 5 years ago. Now a fresh face at the top of the UUP opens up chances for greater cooperation again, so says his DUP counterpart.
Very often there have been electoral battles, as you know, in constituencies or across the province over decades, and some find it difficult to move beyond those. There's now the potential for a discussion with somebody who is newly in post, who is not confined by or bound to those experiences. So I'll explore those discussions. The opportunity is there.
The UUP leader in waiting appears slightly sceptical about the motive behind the latest pitch.
We need a reset. I want the Ulster Unionist Party to be part of that reset, reconnect with people and deliver for people. So I'm setting out to have an Ulster Unionist Party that's back leading unionism. Not playing second fiddle to anyone else, but I will listen to calls for better cooperation in a way that maximises the pro-union vote.
That John Burrows is already facing pressure on this issue before he's even spent a day in charge is a sign of how high some in unionism feel the stakes are at the next Assembly election. Unionist unity made these Westminster victories a reality. The man soon-to-be former UUP leader again says pacts used properly can still prove successful.
I'll take you back to Westminster 2015, where the DUP joined us in Fermanagh, South Tyrone, and for the first time in modern history, unionism unseated a sitting Sinn Féin Member of Parliament, but at the same time, we were aggressively targeting and unseating a DUP MP in South Antrim, so you can compete and you can collaborate simultaneously.
On that, this former UUP councillor is concerned about mixed messaging.
I think it's very difficult to, on one hand, concede, for example, pacts and alliances in various different constituencies, whilst at the same time saying, I'm going to return the biggest Ulster Unionist party vote at the next election.
John Burrows has ambitions for uniting his party, but he'll have to step carefully when it comes to wider unionist alignment. Jane McCormack, BBC Newsline, Stormont.
Just want to flag that this next report might not be suitable for younger audiences this evening. An inquiry was launched today into the number of vulnerable women being exploited on so-called pimping websites here. These are platforms used by criminal gangs to advertise sex workers, many of whom have been trafficked and are victims themselves. A campaigner said that one website alone was, this morning, advertising more than 800 women. MLAs plan to hear from some of those women and organisations that work with them. Brendan Hughes has this report.
Human trafficking for sexual exploitation is happening right now in Northern Ireland, not just on street corners, but increasingly online.
To protect women and girls from the heinous exploitation.
Today at Stormont, campaigners outlined the harms from so-called pimping websites.
We know that pimps and traffickers and sex trade organisers are using these sites to advertise women. They're usually young women, they're often migrant women, they're often very vulnerable women, and they are being advertised to sex buyers. And sex buyers know that this is the place they can go to identify, choose and essentially make an arrangement with a woman that they want to purchase sexual access to.
A new cross-party group of MLAs is launching an investigation into these sites.
We know from a lot of research that's been done that women are being trafficked in to the UK and to Northern Ireland for the purposes of sex, against their will, sometimes coercively. I think that's wrong. We think that's wrong, and we're going to look at this area and see what can be done.
It's a move that's been welcomed.
In a society where we're talking about violence against women and girls, this is a form of violence against women and girls that needs to be more highlighted and addressed more strongly.
Today's event reflected on Stormont passing legislation 11 years ago to make Northern Ireland the only part of the UK where paying for sex is illegal. But with convictions since then in single figures, the former MLA who brought the bill says more needs to be done.
I think that the police are not doing enough. I have to be frank and honest and open about that, because I think that the legislation is there. It is effective legislation, but it must be used. It must be used.
In a statement, PSNI Detective Inspector Rachel Miskelly said detectives work tirelessly to tackle sexual exploitation and to identify and safeguard victims. Tackling violence, including sexual crime against women and girls, has been a key pledge from the executive. So campaigners and MLAs will be hoping this inquiry can help achieve that goal. Brendan Hughes, BBC Newsline, Stormont.
A man from County Down who ended up homeless just last October has said his future is looking brighter thanks to the support from a homeless health nurse. These nurses work in every health trust, helping people access medical advice and treatment. Curtis DeRose says he had been living a chaotic life, but the service is helping him rebuild it. Our health reporter Aileen Moyna has been speaking to him.
I've got it on normal mode, not easy mode as well, so I'm definitely going to lose.
Curtis DeRose loves cars and dreams of a day driving his own on the open road rather than in a computer game. He also dreams of his own home, but after moving back from Scotland a few months ago, he found himself homeless.
Well, basically exhausted, all friends asking for places to stay and stuff, and I actually spent a couple of nights staying in the hospital because I couldn't really find anywhere else to go.
And he found not only the Simon community, but also homeless health nurse Lisa, who helps people in his situation access health care.
Prior to coming here, I've started to think that I've had an undiagnosed ADHD. I've also suffered with malediction as well throughout my life. I would put down due to the chaotic past.
Hi Curtis, how are you? Do you want to have a wee seat?
Curtis said a nurse like Lisa checking in regularly and putting addiction and GP supports in place is helping him rebuild his life.
There's a lot of barriers to people accessing even GP services because they need proof of address, they need ID, and things like even accessing your benefits. You need a bank account, and service users don't always have that. Curtis, I'm going to just do your blood pressure, your heart rate and all that. Whenever somebody is well in their own physical and mental health, they're much more tenancy ready. That's so important for getting people back into the community and able to sustain their own houses, their own homes.
It certainly has improved their health conditions and how they communicate and how their medications are regulated now if they need, because Lisa will do follow-up appointments.
Kind of eye-opening when you come from a space where you don't have any support, and then you realise just how much you can get from random people who, although it may be their job, it doesn't come across like it's their job. Do you know what I mean? It comes across like they just genuinely want to help.
Curtis DeRose ending that report from Aileen Moyna. Let's turn to sport then. Ulster Rugby secured a home tie in Europe. Stephen Watson is here. They made a sweat though, didn't they?
Declan, they certainly did. It was a lot closer than it should have been, but eventually Ulster did enough to beat Stade Francais and secure top spot in their European Challenge Cup group. Good news, and that means a home tie, as you say, in the last 16 against Welsh side, the Ospreys, and that game will be played at Easter. The Ireland squad for the Six Nations Championship is named this Wednesday, and now we await to see how many Ulster players are rewarded for their team's recent good form.
At times, Ulster were breathtaking.
There's a hole there for Balogun.
goes clean through. The supporters there.
They built up a 26 points to 0 half-time advantage, and then almost threw it away after a Stade Francais fight back.
And goes clean through.
Lots to ponder. Still a good bonus point win.
We've achieved what we set out to do in this competition, and we've got to move on. We've got to park it now, move on to the URC next week. We have 2 more massive big games. There's obviously going to be news in and around Irish squads halfway through the week.
Make it Ulster.
One of those hoping to squeeze into the Ireland squad is Robert Balakoon.
We're all driving each other as well, which makes it even better. It's healthy competition, and I think you need that to really push forward. Makes all of us individually be at our best and as a team cohesively. So no, it's class, and the way we play as well, it's really exciting.
And there's much optimism about a healthy representation for the Six Nations.
There's a number of players who are definitely further up the pecking order than they were this time last year, let's say. So you know, that's on the back of the work that the guys are doing together. We want to put our Irish players on the pitch, and we want to put our Irish players on the pitch so that Andy Farrell can see how well they're going, and hopefully we'll get a few more in there.
Whatever the case, the squad are enjoying playing for the head coach.
Great buzz this year. Like you were coming to work and you can feel it from around all the boys and stuff, and it's been an exciting year, and can't wait for the rest of the season as well.
There's your 50 quid.
Smiles might just lead to success. Yeah, Ulster a happy camp at the moment. Now look who's back. James McLean is reunited with Derry City. The former club captain has cut short his contract with English Premiership side Wrexham to return to his hometown. The 36-year-old, who has 103 caps for the Republic of Ireland, previously played for Derry City from 2008 to 2011 and says he's now keen to guide the club to a first Premier Division title since 1997.
When I was leaving Wrexham, the only place I wanted to come was home, and Wrexham were well aware of that, and they were absolutely brilliant in accommodating that. So look, I'm home now. This club hasn't won in a long time, and I'm going to do everything I can to play my part and hopefully changing that.
The best part of 2 decades across the water. I mean, the experience that you can bring to this team, it's going to push the levels of the other players in the dressing room up as well.
I'm just going to be the same person I've been my whole career, and if people see that and they, you know, that rubs off on them, then great. But for a club of this stature on this island, they go almost 30 years without a league title. You know, it's not acceptable. So you know, I've got a challenge now, and I love challenges, is to try and change that, and I can't wait to get stuck on and get going.
Big signing for the Candy Stripe. Now in the Irish Premiership, Glentoran clawed back some ground on the league leaders Larne at the weekend. They beat bottom club Glenavon to stay third in the table, 10 points behind with a game in hand. Cammy Palmer hit the match-winning goal at Mourneview Park. But it's Coleraine who remain Larne's nearest challengers. They're 8 points behind after a 5-1 hammering of Crusaders at the showgrounds, including a Joel Cooper hat-trick. While Carrick Rangers inflicted a 4-1 defeat on Cliftonville at Solitude, the 2 teams meet again tomorrow night in the County Antrim Shield final at Seaview. And I'll be live there tomorrow night. Now, Rory McIlroy got his 2026 season up and running with a tied 3rd place at the Dubai Invitational yesterday. The world number 2 finished just 2 shots off the lead in what proved to be a dramatic end to the tournament for Shane Lowry. He held a 1-shot advantage heading to the final hole, but a wayward bunker shot flew past the flag and rolled into the water on the far side of the green. That meant he missed out on the title won by Spain's Nacho Elvira. Now, earlier, McIlroy had remained in contention in a week that showed he'd lost little sharpness heading into the Dubai Desert Classic, which takes place this weekend.
Yeah, overall it was a good first week back. You know, I felt like I learned a lot of stuff about my game, and you know, I wasn't very sharp, but you know, hopefully I'm a little bit sharper going into next week than I was going into this week, I guess. Yeah, but next week at the Emirates, it's obviously. It's important to get the ball in the fairway and give yourself chances from there. So yeah, just tidy up the ball striking a little bit. I'll hopefully be right there next week.
In Gaelic Games, Donegal won the McKenna Cup trophy after a convincing win over Monaghan in the final at Healy Park. 2 goals from rookie Shea Malone helped them win by a 12-point margin. 2 goals and 17 points to 11 points, the final score, with 11 different Donegal players registering scores in Omagh. Caolan McGonigal, one short of his 100th inter-county appearance, lifted the trophy. And finally tonight, Michael Dunlop has been named the Irish Motorcyclist of the Year for the 3rd time. He collected the trophy, named after his uncle Joey Dunlop, after another successful year where he extended his record number of Isle of Man TT wins to 33 and secured a hat-trick of victories at the Northwest 200. Back-to-back success for that trophy, Declan, for Michael Dunlop.
And you'll be out and about tomorrow night, Stephen. Thank you very much. We will speak to you then. On a slightly sporting-related theme, this photo of a football pitch in North Belfast, well, it kind of tells 1,000 words, doesn't it, Rick?
It can indeed, Declan. And in a nutshell, I'm sorry to say, there's your weather forecast. Right there. Hi there, everyone. It's been a fairly wet and miserable day right across Northern Ireland, hasn't it? Not least here in Ballymena. No sign of football taking place there today either. But outside right now, it's a drier picture. And as the night goes on, we are going to see 1 or 2 clearer spells too. So the overnight temperatures are going to fall quite significantly tonight. We could see freezing in some areas. So there is the chance of some ground frost, maybe even 1 or 2 icy patches as we head into tomorrow morning. So tomorrow, it's going to start dry. It's going to start quite bright as well in places. But by mid-morning, lunchtime, it's going to change abruptly. We've got this big band of rain making its way up from the south. It's going to be quite heavy, persistent. It's going to linger throughout much of tomorrow. And that wind really picking up from the southeast as well. We're going to see gusts of up to 40, possibly 50 miles an hour along coastal areas in Northern Ireland tomorrow. Temperature-wise, quite similar to today at 7 or 8 degrees, but in those windier conditions, maybe feeling 1 or 2 degrees cooler. So those wet conditions, they stay with us throughout much of tomorrow evening. Then eventually they do start to thin out as we head in towards the early hours of Wednesday morning. Overnight temperatures tomorrow staying well above what we'll see, just like nowhere near freezing as we head into Wednesday. We've got this big area of low pressure just lingering over the UK and Ireland. That's keeping those unsettled conditions with us. We're not going to be shaking them off any time soon, I am sorry to say. Wednesday we'll see some drier weather for a time before the rain reappears, and with those easterly winds as well, it is going to feel quite fresh. Temperatures on Wednesday just a wee bit down on what we're seeing today and tomorrow as well. That theme stays with us over the next few days. Plenty of rain, plenty of wind, and as we creep towards the weekend, feeling a degree or 2 cooler as well.
I'm almost sorry I asked, Rick. Thank you very much for that. That's BBC Newsline. We're back at 10:30, but for now, from all of us, thank you for watching. Bye-bye.